The girl's expression was exaggerated as she furiously wrote down numbers. Even when the teacher tried to stop her, she refused to put the pen down. Before she could finish, the teacher abruptly interrupted. The teacher gathered everyone's work and put it into a time capsule, burying it during the school's opening ceremony. However, the girl who was writing the numbers looked serious. When the teacher turned around, the girl had suddenly vanished. Even by nightfall, they still hadn't found her. When the teacher opened the storage room door, he was shocked to see the girl's hands covered in blood, her finger carving something into the surface. 50 years later, in front of the school staff and students, the time capsule was unearthed. Every child received a gift from 50 years ago, but only Cage's son was given a sheet of numbers. He was disappointed, even mocked by his friends. When Cage got home and saw the paper, he didn't think much of it. He just tossed it on the table before pouring himself a drink and casually setting his glass on top of it. Unfortunately, the paper got wet. As he used a napkin to wipe it, the numbers caught his attention. He picked up a pen and began writing them down on a whiteboard. After rearranging them several times, he suddenly realized that these numbers corresponded to 9/11, the date of the tragedy. The number 2996 stood out clearly. It was the number of lives lost. Amazed and stunned, he quickly continued writing. According to this pattern, every group of numbers seemed to correspond to a major disaster from the past 50 years. Considering the capsule had been buried for 5 decades, this meant the little girl could foresee the future. He kept drawing circles, but when he reached the last 3 sets of numbers, he realized that the dates were linked to the future. Terrified, he froze. The next day, Cage shared his discovery with a colleague, warning him that a disaster was about to occur, claiming that 81 people would die in the upcoming tragedy. However, his colleague didn't believe him. How could anyone predict the future? He questioned. Then, his colleague asked Cage about the numbers that hadn't been circled. "It's just a coincidence," he added. Cage was at a loss for an explanation, because he didn't understand the meaning of these numbers either. Helpless, Cage packed up his things and left. On his way to pick up his son, he found himself stuck in heavy traffic during rush hour. He called his son to let him know he'd be late. As he glanced at the coordinates on his navigation, he was startled to find that they matched the numbers on the paper. It turned out that the final set of numbers represented the location of the disaster. Panic set in. He quickly got out of the car and asked a police officer why there was a traffic jam. The officer reassured him that it was just a minor accident and nothing to worry about. But just as Cage was about to relax, the officer turned pale and ran off in fear. This is a film called Knowing.